Alright guys, welcome back to JBSR Plays It. It's been a little while since we've been here. I call it an early Thanksgiving vacation. I work at a grocery store. I end up working like 155 bajillion hours when it comes to the holidays, because all of you people have to buy turkeys and stuffing and stuff like that, so we have to keep filling it. It's not really 150 bazillion hours, it's just like you bust your ass a lot harder during those hours you are there, but that's besides the point. Anyways, I am back with a vengeance. I had week 11, I think I went like 9-4 or something on my picks, not a bad week, and in week 12 I went nuts. I was like 13-2, best week I've had so far of the year, and the biggest one, I nailed it. I called it. I said the Raiders would beat the Chiefs. I put it up on Twitter that morning. I called it, and I was absolutely right. It was close, but it was right. I'd been telling you guys this whole time. The Raiders, they are not nearly as bad as their win-loss record implies. They are not that bad. And it was about time that they got that win. So good for them. You know, the monkey's off the back, which is great as a Bills fan because I'm looking at that game. Bills play the Browns this week. We'll get into that in a minute. And that is golden. That is golden gravy. Because if the Bills beat the Browns and they're up to 7-5, they got a tough slate ahead of them. I mean, if they beat the Raiders, that's win number 8. I am content with win number 8. As a Bills fan, we have seen some terrible, terrible seasons, and it's not like this is a outstanding season. There have been some squandered opportunities, but that's what separates it. I've said it all along. Good teams and bad teams. The good teams can at least win those close games. The Bills threw away. They should have beaten Kansas City, but they just threw the ball away, literally in the end zone. A couple other games where they had a better chance in it, but didn't. So, it's, you know. And the quarterback situation, I mean, as a Bills fan, I got to be careful. Adrian Peterson could be a Bill next year. I stopped paying attention. Ray Rice could be a Bill next year. Robert Griffin III could be a Bill next year. There's a lot of possibilities out there. And the reason I'm saying that is because I still don't think C.J. Spiller is back. And I think it is more likely... I don't think there's any chance in hell that Adrian Peterson ends up on the Bills, because I think he's going to want to go to a ton of other teams. But he would fit more what they're looking for. I don't think Ray Rice ends up there, because as far as I know, he's still kind of like a receiving back and everything. And he wouldn't really be an upgrade. Like, your Bills are better off just keeping C.J. Spiller. But it's a distinct possibility, because the last time you had a free agent out there, I remember when Terrell Owens got released by the Cowboys, and I said, I will change my favorite team if he signs with the Bills, because I was so confident he would not sign with the Bills. And then guess what Terrell Owens went and did? And you know what? I obviously changed my mind on that, but if the Bills, if they sign Adrian Peterson, man, it is... Whew. It's tough, because when you are a hardcore fan of a team, and I had a few years in middle school where I was a huge Brett Favre fan, so I ended up being more of a Packers fan than a Bills fan for a little bit there. I was still a Bills fan, and what helped me came around is right after that happened is when Flutie happened. So, you know, it made it easier. That's why I still kind of root for the Packers a little bit. Because I did that for a little while, so... I don't know. It's tough if they if they were to end up signing Adrian Peterson, which again, I don't think it will. Not because I don't think he's a fit. I think he's exactly what that offense needs at running back. But I don't think he would go to Buffalo. He'd have offers from, I mean, you know, DeMarco Murray could put up MVP numbers and then end up a free agent. And they bring in Adrian Peterson. You know, there's other teams that would be willing to take a risk. Because it all comes down to what your values are at the end of the day. What you view as right and wrong. you all know where I stand as far as the Adrian Peterson thing goes, but a lot of people will defend him because they think that is just the thing that happens. Like, that's just discipline. That's how it works. Very clearly, I am not in that same boat. Oh man, he did sack me. I was hoping I could get away. I just gave him one hell of a sack. But, you know, there are other teams that will be willing to take a chance on him. I don't think he'll go to any team in the North. I really think he's going to end up in, like, the somewhere in the South, where that is kind of a little more well accepted. I'm trying to pin this freaking guy. Well, that's going to be a touchback. I was trying. I ran out of time. It's a little touchy on that. But yeah, I think he'll end up in a Southern team. But anyways, let's move on to the games of the week. This is it. There's no more bye weeks. Everyone's playing. My picks for the Thanksgiving games, I didn't watch any of them. I was asleep, and then I was helping my fiance cook. Because I'm good like that. You know, men, that's what you should be doing. But only if you have a baby. Once she, you know, if there is no baby, or if the baby is old enough to do stuff itself, then you make the baby help your wife, your girlfriend, whoever it may be, whoever is cooking, you make the baby help. But I did pick terribly in these games. I went 1-2. I picked the Lions, just like everyone should have, but then I picked the Cowboys and the 49ers. Only because I don't believe in the 49ers at all. But I don't feel like there's a huge gap between how good the Seahawks are and the 49ers are. And I felt like home field advantage would mean something. And I keep forgetting it's Levi Stadium. There is no home field advantage. So let's go over these games real quick before we get into our preview for the weekend's games. So first up, we have the Detroit Lions taking care of business 34-17 over the Chicago Bears. Jay Cutler, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. Matthew Stafford. The Lions finally putting some points up like they were supposed to do all along. Calvin Johnson was he the youngest or like the 3rd youngest or something like that? He got to 10,000 receiving yards in his career. Good accomplishment for him. 11 catches, 146 yards, 2 touchdowns. Good game by him. He needs to have more of those. I understand he was injured. Obviously, I don't expect him to have 1,500 yards rushing this year, but he needs to have more games like this if this team is going to succeed. And that falls on all parts. That falls on the offensive line. That falls really on Matthew Stafford as well. And Golden Tate still has to sit there with 80 yards. 60 or 70 or 80 yards. I don't have the full box score open, but Golden Tate needs to be doing some work too. Ooh, that was a nice pick right there. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna open the box score real quick. This is my watch, and they even got. The Lions even got 91 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns out of Joique Bell. Yeah, there we go. Perfect. Calvin Johnson, 11 catches, 146 yards, 2 touchdowns. Golden Tate with another 8 catches for 89. That's perfect. That's what you want. You want to balance it between those two guys, and maybe if not balance it, Golden Tate still has to get that ball sometimes. So that is perfect. If they can do more of that, they have a chance in the playoffs with their defense. They have a chance in these playoffs to really make some noise, but they got to get there first. They're at 8-4. They're sitting pretty. They could have won the division. Literally, they had 3 straight games to clinch the division last year and couldn't do it. So just because they're 8-4 doesn't mean anything, because it is very much a race for that wild card spot. Do they even? I don't even know if they hold one of the wild card spots right now. Because it's them, the Seahawks, and the Cowboys all at 8-4 for a wild card spot. So there's no guarantees in that. But yeah, and the Bears, it's they're 5-7. It's hard to say it's a lost season when you're sitting at 5-7. Clearly, the season is not over in any way. But at the same time, this team, I still don't know how they got the 5 wins sometimes. Like, just excuse me. Just looking at how this team has played, it's amazing to me that they managed to get the 5 wins. It's amazing to me they haven't completely quit on Trestman. They have its stretches, but they haven't done it completely. So let's see what the Lions do this year. Their defense is playing really, really well. And it's the same guys that have been good for a little bit, and just everyone's playing at a higher level. And it's sad because Jim Schwartz, he's doing well in Buffalo right now, and that was their head coach. And with Jim Caldwell coming in, it seems like they're playing better. As much as I question him as a head coach sometimes, he's kind of dull. He gets the job done, but he's sort of like, it's kind of like Lovie Smith when he was in Chicago. It's like you get results, you get consistency, but you're not doing anything really major. Like, the only reason that Chicago ever made the highlight reels when Lovie was there was because of Devin Hester. It was really nothing to do with that, any sort of offense being dynamic. I mean, they went to the Super Bowl with Rex Grossman, who, imagine, I keep joking that Trent Dilfer is the worst quarterback to ever win a Super Bowl, but imagine if Rex Grossman had a ring and Dan Marino didn't. Just picture that for a second. Disgusting, right? So yeah, I'm interested to see how's the NFC. The NFC race is more interesting to me than the AFC race. Holy crap! It was 6 NFC teams playing, but the AFC is just so like deep that you could see a 10 or 11 win team just not make the playoffs. Like, the Bills might get to 9 wins this year if they manage, to beat the Browns, beat the Raiders, and then pull an upset on one of the other 3 games. They can get to 9 and 7. That might not even be good to get them in the top, 10 in that conference. That's how good it's looked at times. And someone's going to fall off. We're going to realize, hey, wait a second, the Steelers haven't actually been good all season. Or, wait a second, this is the Browns we're talking about. But this race in the NFC is a little more interesting because you've got 8 teams going for 6 spots? 9 teams? 8, 9? I don't remember. I'm trying to figure out who it's. Well, I mean, you can throw out the South. They should just not have the South. But you're gonna have. Right now you got the Eagles, the Eagles, the Packers, Eagles, Packers, Cardinals winning their division. And then you've got the Cowboys, Lions, Seahawks, and 49ers going for 2 wildcard spots. And whoever goes 5-11 in the South at this rate. Yeah, I'm more interested to see how the NFC goes. Just because that 5 seed, you might as well be a freaking 2. Because you really are. If the Saints don't win that division, you're playing a terrible team that somehow made the playoffs for no good reason. So that'll be interesting to see. That's just as good as a bye. But next up, we had the Eagles decimating the Cowboys 33-10 in Dallas. Dallas is not they're 3-4 at home. They should just not play home games anymore. They are 5-0 on the road and 3-4 at home. By the way, Tony Romo before this game was 6-1 in Thanksgiving Day games. I didn't know that either. I happened to see that on Instagram. Romo, no touchdowns, 2 picks. DeMarco Murray only had 73 yards. Not surprising, considering they were behind that badly. And they still got him 20 touches, so it just shows how integral he is to that offense, even when they're behind big. This is more so about the rushing attack. LaShawn McCoy with 159 yards rushing. I think the Eagles as a team had 256 yards rushing. So this was definitely more about the running game for the Eagles. And it just goes to show that the Cowboys have been very efficient on offense. They know exactly who they are on offense, and they have no idea who they are on defense. And a team like the Eagles with, who usually are pretty good on offense, are very smart on offense, they can exploit that very easily. And there is still a chance that this is your this isn't actually. Well, yeah, there's a chance that this is your first round playoff matchup. If the Oh, well, they hold tiebreakers. Never mind. Well, yeah, if it was the 49ers and the Cowboys as the wild card, Cowboys would be the 6th seed if they were tied. And then the Eagles could be a 3 seed because they lost to the Packers and they lost to the Cardinals. So if the Cardinals win, yeah, this could be a 3-6 matchup. And I mean, they still have one more game to play in the regular season, but it just that's not a good look for them. So they got a game plan for their next division game because that one will be huge. But now Philadelphia uncontested on top of the East, just like everyone expected coming into the season. And then next up, the final game we had, the late game, we had the Super Bowl champs, the Seattle Seahawks, taking care of business, 19-3 against the 49ers. I really, really thought that this would be a closer game. And I thought the 49ers would pull it out just because of the home field, like I said. And obviously, they have no home field advantage. I mean, they're 3-3 at home. That's not good when you're supposed to be a Super Bowl contender to only be 3-3. They're 7-5. They're on the outside looking in. They've got a lot of work to do. So this could be bad news. Richard Sherman, after that bizarre press conference, I didn't watch it, but I've heard enough clips from it to know that I don't really need to watch it to understand what the hell was going on. He ended up with 2 picks today, so he's backing it up. Marshawn Lynch with 104 yards. Russell Wilson, 236 yards in the air. Kaepernick, abysmal effort. Frank Gore. It's over. I love Frank Gore. I said it a couple weeks ago where I talked about basically the Hall of Very Good or the Hall of Great. There's a Hall of Fame, and there's sort of like a step down from that of people who are good. You won't see them in the Hall of Fame. People like Rich Gannon, Eric Moulds, Trent Green. You can probably assume that Frank Gore is going to go into that if they do not win a Super Bowl with him on the roster, and I'm assuming that would be this year that they have to do it. And I don't think they will. Because right now they are the 8th team, they're the 2nd team out. They're not even the 1st team out, they're the 2nd team out in that NFC. So he's just not going to be remembered because he played on abysmal 49ers teams for so long that when they got good, he became the focal point, but he really only got a year or 2 of exposure, and then that's it. And now everything's on Kaepernick and the defense, and now that the defense isn't great, not that Kaepernick isn't great in the playoffs, but, poor Frank Gore. And on the other side of the ball for the 49ers, another player in the Hall of Very Good, or Hall of Great. You got Justin Smith. He was a solid player for the Bengals, went to San Francisco as a free agent and became even better. And he's another one. It's defensive lineman. You got a lot of these guys you will not remember. And I will prove myself. Casey Hampton. I was about to say I don't remember his name. Casey Hampton nose tackled for the Steelers for both of Big Ben's Super Bowls. Basically for a good solid 10, 12 years or something like that. He's another one. He was the anchor of that defense, but you'll never know his name because he never got as famous as, Will Fork. Because the Patriots were so, starved for star talent that you went there, but with the Steelers, it's an all, it's just defense is what they do. So, there's just a lot of those guys who will not go to the Hall of Fame. And everyone keeps going by stats. I don't go by stats anymore because there's going to be a lot of quarterbacks. Matt Schaub put up numbers that are probably better than a lot of Hall of Fame quarterbacks. You are not putting that guy in Canton in any way. He was good. He was good for a while, but it's clearly not Canton worthy. But he had one season where he threw for 4,800 yards. It just shows how the game is changing. You can't put that much into stats. So yeah. Now I guess we should move on to our previews. And first up, let's start with, of course, the Buffalo Bills. See, that's the true fan right there, I guess. Bills are they're going to be home. They're actually going to be home this game after they destroyed the Jets 38-3 in Detroit on a neutral field. That was interesting. I'm glad it's in Buffalo. They were expecting a little more snow, but it seems like it is going to be in Buffalo. I'm taking the Bills in this one, obviously. I think they're going to win anyways. Because I don't... Here's the underlying factor, and I don't think it's really gotten any press. Mike Pettin was the defensive coordinator for the Bills last year. Mike Pettin is the reason the Bills have a relevant defense, because Mario Williams sort of came in, and he was okay. And then, Kyle Williams had always sort of been underappreciated there. Another great defensive lineman buried on a terrible team. Jerry Hughes was a nobody. They basically just swapped first-round disappointments for each other. And he ended up turning into a stud. And then Marcel Darius, he was that guy. It's sort of like Stephon Gilmore, the quarterback right now, or the cornerback for the Bills. Everyone keeps saying he's going to be great. He's going to break out. He's going to do this. He's going to do that. And it has not happened yet. That was sort of Marcel Darius for a couple of years. But Mike Pettin comes in and solidifies that defensive line. And now Jim Schwartz is better. Pettin's better with just defenses in general. Schwartz specializes on his defensive line. He turned Albert Hainsworth from a nobody into a star, into that $100 million contract that Washington, for some reason, felt it was necessary to sign him to. You give him Ndamukong Suh, Nick Fairley, and Cliff Averill, Kyle Vanden Bosch, and all those guys in Detroit. So he's great with defensive line, and he's just made them even better. But Pettin is going to know this defense very well. And the problem is, I don't think the Browns can do anything about the defensive line. So, hopefully, Josh Gordon, this is his second game back. Hopefully he's got a little more chemistry with Hoyer. Really, I don't care if the Browns, I don't want to see them win, obviously. I don't care if this is a close contest. I don't care. This ain't college. I don't care if you only win by 3 points. It's a win. But I don't want to see Johnny Manziel. I don't think we're going to see him this year. But I just don't want to see him at all this year. Because he is going to... I feel like he's going to be a bust. I feel like that's just an inevitability at this point. So hopefully we don't see him get trotted out. Next up, we have the Washington Redskins going to Indianapolis to take on the Colts. Picking the Colts in this one for many obvious reasons, one of which being that, once again, Redskins have changed their quarterback. Robert Griffin is benched because he's terrible. They finally realized that. He's going, watch him be on the Bills next year. Because if they trade him, they won't save that much money, but they'll save some money. Nice garbage time interception. Good job, Harrison Smith. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people thought this would be, oh my god, it's Robert Griffin versus Andrew Luck again. And it's like, yeah, it's the second time that's happened, and once again, you're going to be disappointed. Right, the second time they've met up? Or was the first time like in the preseason or something? But, I mean, it is disappointing first round pick bowl. Because you have Robert Griffin sitting on the bench for the Redskins, and then Trent Richardson should be sitting on the bench for the Colts, and still isn't. Somehow, Trent Richardson only has 127 carries. I don't understand how. It seems like they give him the ball 20 times a game for no reason, but 127 carries for 433 yards and 3 touchdowns. Just no. He's done. He is done. Get rid of him. Just throw the ball. Don't even rush the ball anymore. Just throw it. Which I know is generally what they do, but... Robert Griffin, again, I've said this before. I don't dislike Robert Griffin III in any way. I don't root against him in any way. I hate that Dan Schneider he's one of those owners, we saw Al Davis do this with Jamarcus Russell, firing coaches over the quarterback that he picked, that he wanted. And another coach comes in, it's like, no, this guy just kind of sucks. So it's like, Mike Shanahan gets fired because I still think Shanahan is the reason why Robert Griffin is all messed up. Because I still feel like he ruined his career, or at least, really derailed it. Because he was fine, and then he tears his ACL. Because he went back in with an ACL injury, and it just made it worse. Destroyed his leg. So, His footwork is all off. Like, he's someone he just needs to be... He needs to go somewhere and sit on the bench and sort of be like a reclamation project and just let him, work on his footwork. He needs to go someplace. They won't do it, but Tennessee would be great, and let Wisenhunt just sort of fix him up. Or, send him to Arizona and let Arians fix him up. Something like that, where he can sit on the bench. But he won't do that. He'll end up somewhere like Buffalo, where they just want him to start right away. So, like, hey, you're sort of what we wanted when we drafted E.J. Manuel. Not realizing that the Bills still don't have a very good offensive line. And he will just get shredded again there. So, sorry. Moving on. Tennessee Titans are going to Houston to play the Texans. It's selfie rematch. I'm taking the Texans in this one. I don't even really want to talk about this game. It's just, I want to see J.J. Watt get like 100 sacks in this game. I just really want to see them get to 6-6 and him just have a bajillion sacks and just see if anyone votes for him for MVP. That's really all I want to see out of this game. I just want to see what J.J. Watt does. Nothing, I don't want to talk about Ryan Fitzpatrick going back in because Ryan Mallett lasted a game and a half and then ripped his pectoral muscle. Or was it only one game? No, it was maybe 2 games. Did he play the full game? I feel like he might have played the full game. So, whatever, Ryan Fitzpatrick. You're going into a team that's going to go 8-8 at best anyways. So let's move on to a more important game. The San Diego Chargers going to Baltimore to take on the Ravens. And obviously I'm picking San Diego. I'm going to be rooting for San Diego. I would still like to see them in the playoffs. And I'd really like to see... This AFC North situation is just... It's absurd. It is great to watch. And I didn't realize this was pointed out. I heard it on a podcast. The AFC North is playing the NFC South, which is probably why they're going in different directions. Like, most of these wins are coming against the South. So, this is, a lot of these games are going to really matter in the AFC. You're going to see a bunch of teams beat themselves up. And I think in the Chargers' case, if they lose this game, they're done. Like, even if I don't think they can run the table. Because they've got a extremely difficult schedule coming up, so they need to win every game they can. And Phillip Rivers needs to get back to that MVP form from those first 5 or 6 games. And I don't think we're going to see that guy again this year. Ravens will probably win it, but I will continue to pick against them. Although I would love to see them get into the playoffs and then just get annihilated by somebody. Like, watch them get in as like a 3 seed or a 4 seed, winning that division, and just annihilated by like someone else in their division or by the Chiefs or something. That would be glorious. Excuse me. Next up, we have another game that nobody cares about. The Giants at the Jaguars. I'm going with the Giants. Odell Beckham, that was the greatest catch I have ever seen. If we're just looking at it from a pure catch standpoint, obviously, David Tyree helped them win a Super Bowl. Santonio Holmes for the Steelers won them the Super Bowl with that catch. Mario Manningham again won the Super Bowl, but yeah, figured it's 2 greatest catches I've ever seen. Both of them coming from the Giants. That is the only reason anybody will ever watch film on this game is because, if Odell Beckham has, 1 catch in the first quarter and then pulls a hamstring and he's out for the rest of the game, then nobody will watch this game. Nobody has any further interest in this. The only thing I'm interested in seeing is if the Giants, if they lose this game to the Jaguars, can we just officially call Tom Coughlin just a lame duck? I'm pretty sure that at this point, if they can manage 5 or 6 wins, I know it's kind of a stretch, but if they manage 5, maybe they go 2-2 down the stretch, they will let him retire, and just gracefully step aside. But I feel like if they go 3-13 and then lose to the Jaguars of all teams, I feel like they're just gonna run him out of town. They're just gonna fire him. Literally at the press after week 17, whoever they play, at the press conference, he's just going to be like, "And I'm fired." He won't even make it back to the locker room. Next up, we got the Bengals going to Tampa Bay. Sorry, Eric, I almost called him Tennessee because honestly, I feel like Tennessee's a slightly more interesting team. Picking the Bengals, obviously. There was a story that came out that Devon Still wasn't paying child support or something. I don't understand. And even, like, I thought he was engaged to Leah Still's mother, and apparently that is not the case. I just knew he was engaged. I didn't realize that wasn't the mother. But even she came out and said something about how she didn't want it to become public or something. I don't know. Whatever it all is, it's... I hardly feel like he should be paying child support, it seems like. It seems like I don't know. I'm not going to get into it. Obviously, we're going to wait for all the details to come out. There's just another case of you're at a high point and someone wants to bury dirt on you because that's just how the media works. That's just how people work. Those are the juicy stories. Doesn't matter how high you're rolling, they want to bury you somehow. John Cena in the WWE grants, a bajillion Make-A-Wish kids, final wishes and does all this amazing work. And I know other WWE superstars do a lot as well. But John Cena's the most popular guy. He'll never become, he'll never do a heel turn or turn into a bad guy for those of you who don't really watch wrestling too much. Like, he will always be the good guy, sort of like how Hulk Hogan was throughout his entire WWE career. And then John Cena gets a divorce and all of a sudden, like, is blowing up all over TMZ. It's like, oh my god, he's getting a divorce. It's like, Randy Orton got a divorce and nobody cared. It's just people who are high, people who try and be good people. The littlest bit of dirt. They try and bury you with it. And it's, you can't call someone a deadbeat dad. You watch this guy literally flying back and forth from Cincinnati to Delaware to go and be with Leah Still in the hospital, like, during the week. Like, it's constantly he's over there. And with his work, he has to be away because he has to practice in Cincinnati. That's just a thing that happens. That's part of his job. And obviously they're very flexible with him, but even if he is not paying child support, even if he's refusing to pay child support, in no way would that make him a deadbeat father. So that's just, I find that to be total garbage. And the reason why I further believe that this is not some sort of act that he put on ever since she was diagnosed is because you go to his Instagram and you can go back to, months and months before she was diagnosed with anything, and he is still flooding it up with pictures of her on a regular basis. So obviously he was there. I know my brother and the mother of his child, they're not together. They have a good friendship. Neither one of them pays child support. They have split custody, but he wasn't paying child support at all, and I don't believe at any point. Just because of the way they arranged it, like he was paying for things, she may have been broke, but he was, taking care of his son. And I feel like that's the important thing. Like, you can't, you can make accusations about not paying child support, but the simple fact is, he has a job with the Bengals entirely so that Leah Still can have health insurance, which means that she is under his health insurance, which means he's around in some capacity. And that's what it comes down to. But that's all I have to say about that. I have nothing to say about the Buccaneers, except I'm sorry, Eric. They will probably win this one just to annoy you, just to further ruin their chances at Jameis Winston. Although, I don't understand why you don't just go for Marcus Mariota. Because literally, what's the worst that happens? You have to draft behind you draft behind the Raiders and the Jaguars, neither of which will be taking a quarterback in this draft. Yeah, go for Mariota, buddy. Don't bother, and don't worry about the division. You're not getting it anyways. They have to go 6-10, I think, because of the losses and everything. I think they have to go 6-10. So let's just move on to two teams who are kind of interesting, one more than the other. The Oakland Raiders go to St. Louis to play the Rams, who are 4-7. They got robbed. They should have won that game last week against San Diego. They are looking really, really good. They are really making teams sweat for their victories over them now. They may be 4-7, but they look a lot better than that. And it's just they need a quarterback. You have to move on from Sam Bradford at this point. You just have to. Even if you have to cut him. Even if you bring him back, even if no one else wants him and you bring him back for like a $4 million 1-year deal, that's fine. Because he's going to make like $14 million next year, some crazy number like that. You have to reduce that salary because he is not worth it because he does not take the field ever. And this roster is fairly talented. So I think the days of Austin Davis are over. But I think I'm picking the Rams in this one. I think the Raiders are going to lose the fire now. I still think they're not a bad team, but I will not be surprised by 1-15 anymore because they got that 1, and that's really all that matters. I don't know if they get to 2. It wouldn't surprise me if they got to 3. They have played that well at points, but yeah, I'm picking the Rams in this. Sorry, Oakland. Sorry, my boss is a Raiders fan, but he got his win. He was very happy. That's how we started off the week of hell at the grocery store. All right, next up, and speaking of disappointing teams, the New Orleans Saints are going to Pittsburgh to take on the Pittsburgh Steelers in a game that I guess somebody has to win, although maybe not necessarily. This game's almost over? Jesus. Well, now it's definitely over. I'm just gonna go ahead and check my stats real quick. I haven't done that yet. I have not a great offensive game, I will admit. I might have to add a quarter or a minute back onto these quarters. Oh, that's why McKinnon was hogging the spotlight. Yeah, I mean, the Saints, I was sipping the Kool-Aid. I'm not anymore. I think all of these teams are awful. I still think New Orleans is the least awful team, but I'm very strongly rooting for the Falcons to go 0-10 outside of their division, 6-0 in the division, and win the division at 6-10. I think that would be amazing. Or even better yet, go 6-0 in the division, and then come in second place to the 7-9 Saints. No, I take that back already. Definitely am a bigger fan of that 6-10 division win. It's so terrible. Why not make it like legendary? Like, why not? I mean, everyone wants to say 5-11, but that's realistically not going to happen because these teams have to play each other. There's more than one division game left, and even if you have the Bucks beat everyone else and win all their division games, everyone else, it can't happen. So, yeah, that's what I'm rooting for. So I'll take the Steelers in this game. I don't really trust either team, but I guess I trust the Steelers a bit more because at least they win sometimes. Sometimes they annihilate. They are 4-1 at home, and the Saints are 1-4 away. And it might even get some snow. I don't know if it's gonna projected to have snow, but it'll probably be cold. So, I guess that's part of it. As I was saying, does anybody want the ball? Jesus Christ, Cordarrelle Patterson, you wanted the ball, didn't you? If this was real life, fantasy owners everywhere would be excited. Alright, moving on. Speaking of these Vikings, the Panthers go to Minnesota to take on the Vikings. This is tough because I think both these teams are kind of bad. But I think Minnesota is less bad, so I'm going to take Minnesota in this. I think the Panthers they're terrible. I still think Cam Newton is playing probably the best. It's not going to reflect statistically, but one of the best years of his career, I'd say. I'd say his rookie year was pretty solid. Last year they made the playoffs, but I think he's playing pretty well, all things considered. The offensive line's a mess. The defense isn't holding up the way that they should. They have no run game whatsoever. It's awful. I mean, this is a team where Trent Richardson, that might actually be an upgrade for him. It is that bad. Harrison Smith, you are a monster. You are a monster. Is he like this in real life? Jesus. It's just, I mean, this is a problem. Now you've got all these good games every week. I'm looking at a few more down, we got 2 more games with both teams heavily in the playoff race. But then you end up with games like this, where neither team is really in it. Carolina's only in it because of a terrible division, but I'm confident in writing them out. The only thing I don't trust, though, I can't write them out completely. They have that tie. And that can mean all the difference. If they're 6-10, 6-9-1, all of a sudden that could be good enough for the division. But that assumes they win 3 more games, and I don't know if they can do that. So I'm going to take Minnesota in this. Teddy Bridgewater. Yeah, it's a lot of all these rookie quarterbacks. Zach Mettenberger might be the one in the best position right now. Derek Carr, I think, has been the best so far. And I think he's got the least amount of promising talent around him. He's got no running game. The offensive line is patchwork, which patchwork might even be an improvement for someone like Teddy Bridgewater or Blake Bortles. And his receivers are questionable. Mettenberger has some pieces along the offensive line. They're underperforming, but he's got some pieces. He's got Taylor Lewan at left tackle. Michael Roos has been a pretty good tackle for a lot of years. Michael Orr went there. As much as I love the blind side, I think we're watching the end of his career coming up soon. They got a couple of really good receivers. They got a Pro Bowl caliber tight end. Zach Mettenberger's in the best shape. Teddy Bridgewater has some pieces around him, but he's got a lot more left to be desired. So, and I can say that right now as I'm taking sacks against the New Orleans Saints of all teams. So, he's, I'm not giving up on him. I'd still, I'd really like to see what he can do with the right team around him. That's what I'm really interested in seeing. Moving on, we have, ready for this one? 2 division leaders take, actually, we got 2 games here. The next 2 games are between division leaders, and then the one after that is potentially a very important in-division game. We have the Arizona Cardinals going to Atlanta to take on the 4-7 NFC South division leading Falcons. And the line is only 2 points. I don't understand. And the Falcons get 3 for home field advantage. So on a neutral field, Arizona is only favored by 5. Are you kidding me? What the hell? With that defense? Maybe it's because they don't think the offense is going to put up a lot of points. If Larry Fitzgerald is playing in this game, this is going to be brutal. If he's not, it still probably won't be very well. I'm taking the Cardinals, obviously, in this game. I will only pick Atlanta in their division games from now on because that's what I want to see. And Eric doesn't have to be mad at me because the Bucs already lost twice to them. I picked them both of those times, actually. I picked the Bucs in both Atlanta games. What the hell, man? Way to let me down. I don't think it's going to be a blowout, and I think it's entirely because I think the Cardinals defense will do their job, but I don't know. The only upside is this Falcons defense is pretty much what everyone expected the Cowboys defense to be coming into the season. It is just completely awful. Like, they can't stop anybody. This is a defense where the Bills could put 52 points up on them. So, I don't know. This is going to be fun. That's going to not be interesting. So, yes, I think the South will lose every game this week, and I think most people do. I think the team with the best chance is the Panthers just because they have the Vikings, who are sort of a little frisky, I guess is the right word. I know everyone uses it, but, they're competitive. But I don't think anybody wins. But now we come up to a real game, and this isn't even the Sunday night game. This is just a this is a late afternoon game. The Patriots go on the road to Lambeau to take on the Packers. I'm going to go. Wow, McKinnon at 191 yards? How the hell did I let that happen? I don't know, whatever. He's a rookie. I need to build up everyone. I'm going to take the Patriots in this game because I think as long as Gronkowski is healthy, I think they will dominate. I don't trust the Packers' defense that much. I don't really trust the Patriots' defense either. But the Packers got a narrow victory over the Vikings last week. And you expect me to think it'll go better playing the Patriots. I don't think so. Yeah, I think the Patriots win this game. I think Tom Brady. I think this is for the MVP. And Aaron Rodgers is playing out of his mind, but Tom Brady isn't exactly that far behind him. But I'll take the Patriots in this game. What is the over-under on this? Over-under Green Bay by 3. So it's basically a pick-em on a neutral field. That sounds about right. I know Bill Simmons, big Patriots fan. I think the line was Green Bay by 3.5, which means that I'm learning more about gambling, which means that Green Bay be favored by 0.5 point on a neutral field, and he was livid because the Patriots have been lighting up division leaders, and I don't know if it goes any differently. So, the Packers are playing well, but they got annihilated by the Saints, and they barely beat the Vikings. So, the Patriots, they lost to Miami, who is proving to be pretty good. They almost beat the Broncos last week, and they lost to the Chiefs, another team. I mean, both of those teams are above 500 right now, and at the end of the week, both will at least be 500. Although I think Miami will still be above 500. So I think the Patriots, their losses are a little more respectable. I know the Packers are great at home, as are the Patriots. Both of these teams are undefeated at home, and it's in Green Bay, so that does mean something. But I'm going to go with the Patriots here. And I think I'm just going to ride picking the Patriots for the next 3 weeks or so. Next 4 weeks after, this, and in the 3 weeks after that, and then I have to pick the Bills. I think that's how I'm going to go with it. But moving on to the actual night game, the Broncos go to Arrowhead to take on the Chiefs in a rematch of a game that everyone seems to think was competitive the last time they played, but it really wasn't. The Broncos went up 24-0 and just sort of took the second half off. That's what they did the first few weeks. They played a half. This will be interesting to see. The Chiefs are coming off a loss to the 0-10 Raiders. They gave them their first win of the season. They're the answer to a trivia question now, as the saying goes. There's so many 1-15 teams, I don't think any of them are actually going to be trivia question. The only one I can remember, I remember the Panthers went 1-15 in 2001. Right? Was it 2001? They went 1-15 because they won their first game and lost 15 straight. And then I remember an overtime run for the Dolphins to get to 1-15 over the Ravens. Those are the only two I remember. So I don't think they actually became the answer to a trivia question, unless you're a Raiders fan. Then it's the answer to a trivia question. I'm picking Broncos in this. I do think, they got a really tight game. Dolphins gave it to them last week. They're trying to run the ball more. I don't know why. Just pass it. Just throw the ball. Just go for it. I do think this will be a close game, though. I think it'll actually be legitimately close this time, though. The Broncos, this is what they do. They go on a run. They get 21 points in one chunk, and you just have to hope that you're scoring more points than them. And the Chiefs at points, they blew out the Patriots, so they are capable of scoring points. I just wonder if they can do it in this. The over-under is 50.5 points in this game. The over-under on the Patriots and Packers is 59. And to put that into perspective, let's see. What are the terrible teams playing? Jaguars and Giants, 45 points is the over-under. So they don't think there's going to be that many more points scored in this game than there are in the Giants and Jaguars. I would take the over in that. I think the Chiefs can put up some points. I wouldn't be surprised. This is like even if the Broncos run away with it, 34-21 would seem about right. But I would lean more towards like a 34-27 win in either direction. But I'm going to pick the Broncos in this. And then somehow, and I don't know who the hell let this happen. I guess it was Mother Nature's fault this time. But somehow the Jets are playing in another Monday night game. The Dolphins go to New York to play the Jets. And here's where that line, here's where that line comes into play. Miami's favored by 7, which means in neutral field they're favored by 10. The Bills just blew out the Jets. Blew the doors off them. The Dolphins should be able to take care of business against the Jets because I think the Dolphins have a better offense than the Bills do. I was thinking before that maybe the Jets, Rex is trying to, I don't know if he can't save his job, I don't think at this point. But I think he's going to try to anyways. And I thought they would play better down the stretch. And that's not happening. It's painful to watch, man. Especially for someone who genuinely likes Rex Ryan. It is painful to watch. But, that's just how it goes. So yeah, Dolphins, I think they'll win this. And if the Chiefs lose, I mean, this is, and the Bills win, this is going to just further muddle. I think everyone is going to be 7-5 at the end of the day. It's going to be like, they're all 7-5. Because if you go by my picks, the AFC, you'll have the Browns, the Bills, the Ravens, and the Chiefs and Dolphins, all at 7-5 in the AFC. And then you'll have the Chargers at 8-4, winning the division. You'll have the Steelers at 8-4, but then the Bengals at 8-3-1. It's so muddled. And the Bills, they don't stand a chance. They'll be out. They have a tough schedule. I think the Dolphins are talented enough. Like the Bills, I don't think they're talented enough to take down. I mean, you're talking 3 juggernauts. You're talking about the Patriots again, the Broncos, and the Packers. Like, arguably 3 of the top 4 teams in the league. And that's assuming you're still giving respect to Arizona after Carson Palmer went down. But, Miami has New York. Then they go Baltimore at New England, home for Minnesota, home for New York again. So, realistically, they could win 3 of those, and they just have to beat either Baltimore or New England to get to 10 wins, which is supposed to be the magic number, and I don't think that happens. The Chiefs, this would be both their Broncos games off their schedule, and they already played the Patriots, so they'd have... so after Denver, they have Arizona, Oakland, Pittsburgh, San Diego. Now, they've already beaten San Diego. They've beaten Miami. So, beating Pittsburgh is key. So, they're sitting at 7 already. So, even if they lose to Denver and Arizona, and they win the next 3 after that, they're 10-6 with a couple tiebreakers in their pocket. So, it's not hard to see them getting to 10 wins. Bengals, are you the odd team out? Yes, I am just going to go through all these team schedules right now. I'm curious. And this is my podcast, damn it, I can do it. Bengals at Tampa Bay, home for Pittsburgh, at Cleveland, home for Denver, at Pittsburgh. So they still have Pittsburgh twice. Realistically, they'll probably drop that Denver game, but they could win the other 4. Because you never know what Pittsburgh team you're going to get. And let's assume they split that. So that gets them 10-5-1. That might be good enough for the division. Pittsburgh, so obviously they got the 2 Cleveland games left, or the 2 Cincinnati games left. They have New Orleans this week, they have Atlanta, and they have Kansas City. So, I mean, all these teams are going to play each other. Ravens, how did they do? They split the Ravens. They split the Browns. They haven't played anyone else in playoff contention right now. So, it's, this is all up for grabs. Ravens... I mean, I don't remember the games the Chargers are playing, but I know that I think the Ravens are like the easiest team left on their schedule. But they got San Diego at Miami, home for Jacksonville, at Houston, home for Cleveland. There are a lot of, they could win. I mean, if they beat San Diego, Jacksonville, Houston, and then home for Cleveland, they could sweep those last 3. And realistically, it's just that Miami game that comes down to it. But they could get to 11. They could realistically get to 11 and just win the division and throw everything else into shambles. And then the Browns, I mean, team that time forgot, at Buffalo, home for Indy, home for Cincinnati, at Carolina, at Baltimore. Realistically, if they don't take care of business against Buffalo, they might only finish at 8-8. So this is going to be a fun few weeks of football to watch. And I will try and be here for every single week of it from here on out. I mean, once the playoffs start, I will probably just, with only 4 games over the weekend, I will probably just drop it down, start in the playoffs, to a weekly podcast. And in the off season, it might even go down to monthly if I got nothing to talk about. Because, I mean, how much crap can I shove at you guys all the time? So, and apologies if you're actually paying attention to what's going on the screen, because I am not. I was looking at the schedule. So anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. Please like this video if you enjoyed what I was talking about and all my rambling, and if you're happy that I am actually back to this. Excuse me. Subscribe if you want to see more of these type of videos. Subscribe if you want to see other gameplay videos. You know, right now, this is dominated by Pokemon and Madden. Let me know if there's any other games you'd like to see me play on here. Maybe just something more traditional. I might even have a Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare. That might be happening soon. That might be something that I do. So, let me know what you guys think. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.